Hi, this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'm going to be continuing my coverage of the ChessTweets library. So, the most recent ChessTweets game, Rojul, was playing white here, and the ChessTweets community was playing black. And this game finished about a month ago. So, game starts with a 4 knights defense after knight c3 and knight f6. So, pretty much what's going on in the 4 knights. Obviously we got the 4 knights developed, and both sides are fighting for control of these 4 central squares: e4, d4, d5, and e5. So with bishop b5, white is, if he plays bishop c4, there's a well-known tactic here, and I believe it leads into the fried liver after bishop takes f7 and knight takes e4, and this has been quite a complicated game. So the fried liver attack, if anyone wants to look at that. And the reason is, after knight takes e4, instead of bishop takes f7 check, if knight takes e4, then d5. And black is going to most likely easily equalize in this game. So bishop c4 runs into that, so bishop b5, trying to put a little pressure on this knight here, and maybe indirectly put pressure on that e5 pawn. So black responds by playing knight d4, and I believe the idea here is if knight takes e5, simply queen e7 works to win the pawn back, as far as putting pressure on the e4 pawn, or a transposition of moves: knight takes b5, and then queen e7. So you got to be careful here, because you don't want to go with the immediate. The immediate knight takes e4 maybe is going to run into a little bit of something. If black is careless, this was an old beginner's trick that I was taught, and knight c6, discover check, picking up that queen. So just an interesting little trap there, but back to it. So knight d4, and idea is pretty simple. He's just doesn't want to get his pawns doubled there, wants to put a little pressure on that bishop. And so white plays castles, and now knight takes b5 and knight takes b5. And so now it kind of looks a little, position's okay. I mean, it's pretty even. Black has now got the 2 bishops, but he's a little bit behind in development. But this knight on b5 is a little awkwardly placed. And so c6 by black makes sense, kick the knight, and also firmly controlling the d5 square. And so now white plays d4. So white did give up the white square bishop there, but now he's got a pretty easy game to play for the most part. It's he's got the center pawn, so he's got good control in the center. He's already castled, and yeah, it's pretty simple to play. So queen c7 by black here. I believe bishop g4 is also possible. And now if d takes e5, not d takes e5, which would lead to queen takes and dropping the pawn on e5. But the intermediate move, bishop takes f3, and now after queen takes f3 and pawn takes e5, the game is very even. I mean, possibly bishop g5, bishop e7, and we see there's not a whole lot going on here. Maybe white's going to try to swing the knight around to f5. But black chose queen c7. Seems, it's hard to criticize. And after bishop e3, maybe I would have preferred to play h3 to, this bishop on c8 might have trouble getting developed, so bringing it out to g4 is always nice to go ahead and trade it off. But bishop e7 is no problem. And so now rook fd1. Which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, it seems maybe the rooks belong a little better, seem a little naturally placed, bringing the a rook. But rook fd1, okay, maybe he wants to play on the queen side with some kind of a4 ideas. Either way, seems more or less personal preference. And now bishop g4, and so now h3, and I think you got to just take the knight here, because after g4. I mean, it's going to be tough to. This bishop's not going to be so active. Yes, you're going to be putting some pressure on e4, but going back, I think from here Tough to say for sure, but black's got a good pin on this. Maybe he just sacked a piece. And after pawn takes, maybe black's going to get compensation for this. F5, but you got to watch out for queen c4 check. So black is definitely going to get some compensation for this. It's just a matter of will it be enough. But white's king is going to be feeling pretty lonely for a while. So anyway, ChessTweets continued with bishop g6 here, putting pressure on that e4 pawn. And now here, knight h4 by Rojul. And I think black, this seems kind of like a positional pawn sacrifice, and that black could play bishop takes e4. Maybe not, in light of g5. Yeah, I guess this is white's idea. With playing g4, he's defending the pawn. So if bishop takes e4 in this position, now g5. And that's going to kick the knight on f6, and this bishop on e4 is going to be hanging. No two ways about it that I can see. So it appears that Rojul is pretty familiar with this, and knight h4 is no problem. So bishop takes e4 doesn't work. If white goes ahead and gets this knight to f5, that f5 square is prime time for the white knight. That's a great square, not to mention f4 to follow. Now here it would seem that the a1 rook would be better placed on d1. Just something to keep in mind. If you're planning on playing on the king side, why move the rook away? But didn't turn out to matter. So in the game, ChessTweets played, just to give a recommendation of what I would play here before we wrap things up. So tough to say exactly. You don't really want to play this move so much. Maybe if rook takes here, maybe you sack a pawn. Although I don't think it is a pawn sacrifice. I think black ends up getting that c2 pawn. So that's d5 is definitely an idea. Changing the composition of the position. However, after bishop takes, now we've still got a lot of tactics going on, but it seems like black still can't take e4. And if d5, simply e5. And black is going to get maybe steamrolled here on the queen side, or on the king side actually. So e takes d4 doesn't seem to quite work. I mean, it's not looking great for black here, but maybe he can just simply play rook to e8. I like bringing this rook over, because if white takes the bishop, then f takes, and open up the f file for the rook. Just a thought, just speculation. So maybe playing rook e8 for black, or possibly d takes, or take d4, and then bishop takes, and either move this rook to e8 or this rook and try to put pressure against the white queen's position. So that's what I would recommend in the position. In the game, black blundered, essentially blundered here and played knight takes e4. Now at first it looks like it's going to work because, okay, so now we've opened up this discover attack on the knight on h4 is definitely a loose piece. So if knight takes, no problem at all, you're just going to take it, and black is going to be doing very well here. But the problem is the other critical move, knight takes g6, and now knight takes c3 just doesn't cut it. It looks like it does at first, but knight takes e7 check, and after queen takes, b takes c3, and black is just up a piece for a pawn here. So I believe what happened in the game was pretty similar. It was f takes, so yes, black did open up the file, but he just lost a piece. And after d5 and knight c5, either way, maybe I would go to g5, but it's all the same. Up a piece for a pawn is usually good enough to win. And after bishop takes c5, I think the ChessTweets community as black just resigned here because, yeah, they do have the pawns in the center, but they're going to get broken up. And yeah, so just down a piece. So an interesting opening duel here, and you just got to be careful about those intermediate moves, that intermediate check with the knight taking e7. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.